Walt Disney World is one of the most spectacular resort destinations in the world. A remarkable collection of world-class theme parks, beautiful and imaginative hotels, all tied together by some of the most creative and iconic stories the world over. But Walt Disney World wasn't built overnight. In fact, it's been a meticulous work in progress since the Walt Disney Company first broke ground on the property in 1967. And in that time, the company has introduced concept after concept, project after project, constantly testing, learning, adapting, improving, modernizing, continuing to elevate the total Walt Disney World experience year after year. Some of these concepts were wildly successful. Some faltered. Some of them just became obsolete. Some of them were replaced by new, innovative, and more modern experiences. But very few were abruptly abandoned, shuttered almost overnight, suddenly sectioned off, and left to rot. This is the story of Disney's notorious abandoned water park, known as River Country. Situated on the shores of Bay Lake, just across from Disney's contemporary resort, lies the former site of Disney's River Country Water Park. Originally opened in 1976, the park was themed as a rustic swimming hole, where the visual storyline was tied together by Disney's hallmark theming. Elaborate rockwork throughout framed a relatively limited selection of water-based rides. This included Whitewater Rapids, which was a large inner tube ride, Hoop and Holler Hollow, which was a pair of intertwined, more traditional water slides, and Slippery Slide Falls, which was a water plunge style ride. But consistent with the park's theme, the main attractions were the various swimming pools, each with their own interactive elements. This included Upstream Plunge, Bay Cove, Kiddie Cove, and Indian Springs, all situated as part of a natural lagoon-like setting. The park's design was highly innovative for the time. The water source was none other than Bay Lake, where a complex water filtration system was used to purify and clean the lake water. Water was then pumped up to the park, which sat at a slightly higher elevation than the lake's surface, thus preventing contamination of the treated water. Like most theme park concepts developed by the Walt Disney Company, the park was considered a success, at least initially. After all, it was a mainstay of the original Walt Disney World complex, existing alongside the Magic Kingdom, the nearby Discovery Island, as well as Disney's Contemporary and Polynesian Village resorts. But the park's reputation, along with that of Walt Disney World, would endure a rough patch in the 1980s due to 3 high-profile tragic incidents. In 1980, an 11-year-old child contracted a rare amoebic infection from the park's water. Unfortunately, this would result in his death. 2 years later, another child would drown, and in 1989, yet another drowning would occur. Critics of the Walt Disney Company were quick to point out operational deficiencies at the park, which precipitated a public relations nightmare for the company. Some even referred to the park as Disney's death trap, a horrific contradiction of the brand the company had worked so hard to build around the Walt Disney World Resort. The company would be able to navigate its way through the turbulent 1980s, and the park would continue to operate as normal, leaving the unfortunate deaths behind in the darker pages of the company's history books. Perhaps the writing was on the wall for River Country with the 1989 opening of Typhoon Lagoon. As the Walt Disney World's resort's popularity continued to grow, the company would need to invest in newer, higher capacity experiences. Typhoon Lagoon was a much larger, more elaborate water park, capable of handling much larger crowds. Newer technology was more efficient and safer to operate, creating a fast track to obsolescence for the aging river country park. The final nail in the park's proverbial coffin would come with the opening of Blizzard Beach in 1995, a further example of Disney's newer generation water park experience, also larger and more efficient than the now 20-year-old lakeside swimming hole. While River Country would continue to operate alongside both Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach for the next 6 years, the park would close in the fall of 2001, with a planned reopening in the spring of 2002. However, at some point during this time, the company would quietly section off the property and drain the pools, wiping it off the Walt Disney World resort map virtually overnight. The property would sit abandoned amid swirling speculation from fans of Walt Disney World across the globe, and it wasn't until 2005, 3 years later, that the park's official closure would be announced. The reasons behind the park's closure have been contested ever since. Some have cited concerns over the safety of the park, referencing back to the multiple deaths that occurred at the site. Others speculated that the technology upon which the park was built, the park's advanced water filtration system, was no longer operationally viable. But the most popular theory is that the relatively small park simply could no longer handle the larger crowds drawn to the Walt Disney World Resort into the early 2000s. But nonetheless, ever since its initial closure in the fall of 2001, the partially intact property has served as a fascinating study for urban explorers and photographers alike, all seeking to document the park's dramatic and graceful reclamation by nature. My name is Scott, and thank you so much for watching. We're a group of curious and passionate humans creating documentary-style content for those who share our curiosity, ask questions, and seek to dig deeper in a world where almost everything isn't quite what it seems. We are Mystery Syndicate. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, and visit our website at www.mysterysyndicate.com. And don't forget to like our videos and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. From all of us at Mystery Syndicate, thank you again. We sincerely appreciate your support.